Hi, this is going to be a reading on the energy of Dustin Diamond. So I was channeling today, and I never know who's going to come through, but Dustin Diamond walked through my front door and wasn't expecting to ever speak to him. Of course, I'm a huge Saved by the Bell fan. I mean, who wasn't? Anyone who grew up in the 80s or 90s, we all watched it. Um, and Screech walks in. Oh wow, okay. Do you have something to say to me, Screech? You want to talk to me? Okay. Wasn't expecting that. And he's not speaking, not saying anything. And then I feel the energy that he's getting very angry, and I'm like, well, what are you all upset about? What's wrong with you, Screech? And I realize he doesn't like being called Screech. He's not answering me, but I'm feeling the anger. And I say, okay, well, what is your name? Dusty Diamond? Is that it, right? Dusty? He says, Dustin. I'm Dustin Diamond. Oh, okay. Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry. Kind of like his whole career. Anyway, we start talking, and he's telling me, basically how it was and what's gone on. And this is the story, and this is what I saw, this is what I felt, this is what I heard when I channeled the energy of Dustin Diamond. So, Dustin Diamond was born in San Jose, California, January 7th, 1977. He actually passed away February 1st, 2021. So, I guess it's been a little bit over a year. He passed away from lung cancer, stage 4 lung cancer, and he was diagnosed, did one chemo treatment. I think within 3 to 4 weeks, he had already passed away. Surrounded by a lot of tragedy in his life. His mother passed away of breast cancer. His brother passed away of heart disease at 8. And then it was him and his dad. His fiance, wife, suffered a miscarriage, so he lost his own child. And he started showing me that, he was really a workhorse, and he worked a lot, and his childhood consisted of working. He shows me that he was always working and pushed into it. His parents pushed him into this acting career. He's from a Jewish family with connections in Hollywood. His mom, like I said, died, and his brother died. And then there was just his dad, who also, did small acting extra roles here and there and whatnot, and kind of continued to push his childhood career a little bit more. So there was a big parental influence in his acting career. And it was a time when, it was first starting up. He shows me like the Mickey Mouse Club and the Nickelodeon channel and things like that. So it was almost experimental in the late 70s, 80s, and through the 90s. And then he kind of shows me more of like the Hannah Montanas and, the Hillary Duffs and how they continued to push it. So it's a cycle. But when he got into the industry, he started about 8 to 10 years old. I'm guessing that's what he looks about, 8 to 10. It was just starting this whole little monopoly in Hollywood for that preteen kind of crowd, right? And the parents are actually, basically selling their kids into the industry, is what he shows me. Now, whether that's willingly knowing about it or like unknowing about it, it doesn't matter, because eventually you know about it, and you either take your kid out of it or you just accept it because the money and the fame and whatnot, right? So he's showing me that it was like at a time when this was barely starting, and then he says, like, look how it cycles and keeps continuing to go that way. So all these families are basically, pimping their kids out in Hollywood. And this is where he came up with the term that he says to me, basically I was a Hollywood whore, and I was working throughout childhood, growing up in a very, growing up fast and growing up in a very sexual, explicit environment. And, I think he talked about that in the book that he wrote and things like that. But he would come out and he would say things and then he would retract it because there was always these threats. There was always these threats against his life, against his career, things like that. You can see that his career never really went as far as it could have, or things like that. But he also shows me that all the families of every one of these cast members in Saved by the Bell were already connected. They're all connected. All the Tiffany Amber Thiessens and the Mario Lopez, and he says Mario's family is one of the most connected. And but they were all connected. All their families knew what was going on. Even if you go into it and you didn't know, like I said, eventually you figure out what's going on in this industry. So when it's child acting, yeah, there's a big family influence in it, to keep your kid in it and to keep them getting gigs and to, pretty much live off their money and stuff like that. And that's what it was all about. He says, it was all about the money. And I was a workhorse and I had been working pretty much my whole life. And, he says, like, they hoard me out from a very young age, from beginning to end. And when I was of no more use to them and I was causing more problems because he was speaking out and he was saying things, they got rid of him, right? This is a pattern we continue to see in Hollywood. And another pattern we continue to see in Hollywood is so many of these people have these tragic stories. Their mothers died, their brothers died, their children died, right? Sounds a little sacrificey to me, but hey, whatever. And he says, but it's all about the money. And for as much as he worked and for as hard as he worked and as much as they, pimped him out, hoard him out, which is a terrible thing to say, but it's what he's saying and it's what he's showing me. And then, knowing the industry and knowing working girls in the sex industry and knowing victims of human trafficking, yeah. I mean, it's not uncommon for these victims to go through 30, 40, 50, tricks a day. I mean, come on, it's just constant. So it's kind of the same thing that he's saying. It's like I was just constantly hoard out to this commercial, that commercial, whatever gig I could get, whatever, from beginning to end, my whole entire life, Hollywood whore, and I never got what I earned. And just like all the rest of these victims of, sex trafficking and prostitutes that have terrible pimps and stuff, they never get what they earned, and that's why he's kind of like making the analogy to that, is because he worked so hard. And even in death, they say like he had less than $100,000 to his name and things like that. And he says, yes, because they took it all, because I lost everything, because I was constantly being punished for speaking out or speaking against the industry and things like that, because my family always took it. Somebody always had it, and he says, follow the money and the humiliation rituals and things from the beginning of my life to the end of my life, and he makes the case that, like, I never smoked, and they say I died of lung cancer. So, what is that about? And nobody questions that, because it's just, oh yeah, well, people that don't smoke get lung cancer, sure. He says, well, I did a lot of other things though. But he continues to say, no, it was like they gave it to me. I was no longer of use to them. They just got rid of me. It was like somehow injected into his system. And this is why it happens so fast. And this goes back to, like the Eazy-E theories. How Eazy was diagnosed with AIDS and a month later he was dead. I mean, people don't die like that from AIDS normally. I mean, lung cancer, I understand it was stage 4. He went through one chemo treatment. That's it. It's over. Like, within a matter of weeks. It just seems a little suspicious sometimes, but he keeps saying, no, it was all planned. I was just no more use to them. I was old and used, and I was causing controversy and, going back and exposing things and going back on my word. And he was outspoken. And he was trying to set those boundaries, but then he was always threatened, and then he was always pushed. And then, he talks about being typecasted and how he could never, get rid of that typecasting from being Screech. And as I said in the beginning of the video, he would not answer me when I called him Screech. He was so angry. He was like, no, remember my name. Hear me say my name. I'm Dustin Diamond. Oh, okay. you know but then he talks about always being punished for speaking out or for not wanting to do certain things, or you know talking about the industry in ways that you're not supposed to. And he says you're not supposed to do that, and they would punish me for it. And this is why I had prison time, and this is why I could never gain real relevance. I could never get a real role in a different kind of a serious drama or anything like that. I would always get passed up for everything. And the only gigs I could get were always embarrassing and things like that. And then I would say things and I would come out and then I'd have to retract my statements, and I was always the outcast. And he keeps saying, like I was always outcasted, but then I was used all at the same time. And he's trying to stay relevant. He's trying to make money, and he's a workhorse, and he's overworked, yet he's really underrated. And he's stolen from, and he talks about people stealing from him, and companies and managers and family members stealing his money, and always being silenced and always being punished. The personality in his chart is very strong and cocky, and he's got that work ethic in his chart too. And he just talks about really just being used from beginning to end in the Hollywood industry, and how it just continues to cycle on, and it's something that they have created and done, are going to continue to do. And a lot of these parents are actually pimping their children out to it. And a lot of these parents maybe don't know, but then when it becomes clear to them, do they take their kids out? Usually not. And you just get stuck in it. And he talks about, like the celebrity boxing matches that he did, and he talks about, like the sex tape that he released. And he talks about how, it was in a time where Paris Hilton and all these people and girls were releasing sex tapes, and it was like becoming famous, and it's more of that experiment that they were, because he keeps saying that Hollywood brings in certain types of things and experiments with it and sees if people are going to buy into it, if that's going to make people famous, is that going to make the money, like these shows did. The Kardashians are the same kind of thing with the sex tape, which leads to a reality show. Paris Hilton did the same kind of thing. And they were telling him if he did one, he would get the same kind of thing. But what he says is like, but they always pull the strings, so like my sex tape went nowhere other than just humiliation, basically, because it was another like humiliation punishment thing. And they're the ones that make you famous off your sex tapes or whatever. But he says it's all not done without sacrifice, which makes sense, because I'll tell you right now, one of the biggest pimps in Hollywood is freaking Kris Jenner, right? Like pimping out all of those Kardashian girls. So like he shows that that's what it was, and that he was just useless to them. So that it was just irrelevant by 44, and we just need to get rid of this guy. He's never going to go away. It's real easy to get rid of him because we can just, it's self-inflicted disease or whatever. No one's going to care. And he talks about, the cockiness and the attitude and the things like that was because of the bullying, because of the typecasting. He was actually very good looking man, tall, whatever, could never shake that typecasting of Screech. Would get bullied by the public, would get bullied by people in Hollywood. And as he said, would never get that ability to be taken as a serious comedian or a serious actor or a serious musician. He actually had a lot of talent. There was actually a lot of things he could do. But he was just stuck. He was just stuck being a lower level. And as he says, literally a Hollywood whore, pimped out his whole entire life, used from beginning to end, punished if he ever spoke out against it, and told over and over again, we're going to use you, and we're going to keep you, and we're going to promise you, and we're going to take back, and we're going to lie. And you're never going to have the money or the recognition or anything that you're looking for. And the attitude and the cockiness, well, it's in his chart, there's no doubt. You know, the workhorse energy, yeah, it's in his chart, there's no doubt. But he also says, you know, a lot of it was because I was on so many drugs. We all were at very young ages. Lots of drugs, lots of drinking, lots of sexually explicit environments. And you know, he has his sun in Capricorn and he has his moon in Leo. So again, with that cockiness and things like that, you know, and then being on drugs, I mean, it's going to come through with that Capricorn Leo combination, no doubt. You know, that work ethic there, you know, being so dedicated like he was. Yeah, that's all going to come out. And it's there in his chart. And one of the other things I noticed in his chart was he also has Scorpio and Uranus, just like Aaliyah and DMX and so many other people that I have talked about on this channel. There's a coincidence there with child actors, with soul contracts, with the entertainment business, with the music industry, with the Hollywood. A lot of these people that end up being child actors, or, you know, Aaliyah, princess of R&B, and all the family connections and blah, blah, blah. And these soul contracts that they end up signing, these young crazy deaths after they've been used, they make these industries millions, right? As he said, Hollywood ho. Like, it's a terrible way to say it, but that's what he said, and it makes total sense. But what do I see in these people's chart over and over again? I see that Scorpio and Uranus. Very interesting. So that was the conversation I had with Dustin Diamond when he decided to come through when I was channeling. And now we're going to, you know, see what the tarot has to say. I will say this. I do think one other thing he said, I think the reason why his energy is coming through so strong is because, you know, it's been a little over a year. I think he's actually getting stronger. I think he's able to connect more, and, you know, his voice is still going to be heard. He was out here speaking when he shouldn't have been. I think he's going to do the same on the other side. And I think we may hear information about him. He did say there's evidence in a safe on tape. I don't know what that means, but, you know, hey, maybe we'll come across that evidence in a safe on tape, because that is what he says. I don't know, maybe there's something that comes up. But realistically, even when I was looking for his birth chart, it's hard to find information. They're starting to erase him from Google. So, anyway, God bless. See what the tarot has to say. Well, what do we have in the past here? We have this wounded warrior energy, that Nine of Wands, talking about patience and vigilance. You know, you survived the war, you're working hard. Wounded warrior energy in the past. Here in the present, well, here comes that justice, balancing the scales. Lots of Libra energy. Maybe we'll hear something around Libra time, right? But justice comes in, talking about justice, balancing scales. In the future, lots of fighting, lots of conflict, right? Five of Swords challenge here with the Five of Swords conflict. Bottom of the deck, we have the Ace of Swords. So here comes that truth. Truth cutting through obstacles, truth forward movement. Ooh, and a tower wants to fall out. Let's take that tower. So here we have wounded warrior energy in the past. Here comes the tower. Something shocking. As we said, boom, you have stage 4 cancer. All of a sudden you're dead within weeks, right? Holy shit. Wish fulfillment here, though. Harvest, all about your home, your family, your wish fulfillments, you know. Yeah, well, definitely had a lot to do with his family. Secrets here. Look at that with the High Priestess. Here comes those secrets. in enterprise, right? What have we been talking about? Secrets in Hollywood, right? Secrets in the entertainment enterprise world. Yeah, imagine that. Secrets revealed, things like that coming through. Here in the present with the justice, let's continue and verify the justice. Could be lawyers, legal matters. Like I said, he says there's evidence in a safe. I don't know. And, maybe there's more coming through. Maybe there's, I don't know, legal matters here. And decisions that have to be made. People might even know about these legal matters and they're really not saying anything. They're not doing anything. Maybe it hasn't been released or revealed to the public yet. Here comes that trickery, that fraud. With the magician energy, it can be read like that. Can also mean alchemy and like learning more. And as I was saying, he's learning. Now he's been gone a little bit over a year. He's learning how to communicate. He walked right through my front door and talked to me. So, he's learning how to do things on the other side. And that's a lot of magician energy too, right? Like learning how to use all the elements in the universe to your advantage. Bottom of the deck, we have the moon card here. So again, things you can't see, secrets, things in the dark come into light. But as I said, he would say things that he shouldn't be saying. And then later he would retract. And then, yeah, shit would go downhill. Something bad. He'd be in the news for a fucking bar fighter, thrown in prison for a while. He did like 3 months in jail. Like, and he shows me all these things. Like, no, they were punishing me every time. Every time it was punishment for what I was saying or what I was. Look at that. Fighting. Slow, steady offer coming through. It's going to be a while, but there's going to be some conflict. But yeah, and he would say, they were punishing me every time. Oh, and King of Pentacles. Well, that's his energy. 100%. King of Pentacles, Taurus, Capricorn, Virgo. He is a Capricorn coming through in that energy. Listen, here to stir up some shit in the future anyway. He's still going to do it, man. We got some conflict. We got some fighting. We got some challenges here. But a slow, steady offer's coming. Maybe some messages. And here comes the king. The King of Pentacles coming out in his energy. Bottom of the deck. 7 of Swords. What were we talking about? Those sneaky motherfuckers. He definitely said that was part of it. Oh, wow. But what wants to fall out? The truth. And juggling. So there's some juggling energy here with the 2 of Swords. I'm sorry, the 2 of Pentacles, possibly representing soulmate energy. Maybe his wife's going to come out with some information, or, family member, best friend, soulmate energy here with the 2 of Pentacles. It's all about juggling, balancing. And what do I have on the bottom? More enterprise energy. Big institutions, big enterprises, right, can be represented by the Hierophant. Also, always my God card. We got that energy coming through. So, wow, enterprise, God energy, and look at that, the Queen of Swords comes through also. So we may hear from an air sign. I actually don't know his wife's birthday or anything. I think they might have even been divorced when he actually died. But here comes some Queen of Swords energy. Also could represent female authority figure. We got some justice here. Could be a lawyer, a private investigator, a cop, someone who runs the numbers, could be female energy. Either way, looks like the enterprise comes through, the truth comes through. Just might take a while. I wouldn't be surprised if we hear more about Dustin Diamond here in the near future. Interesting. But as I said, remember, they are also already taking his information off Google. So, keep an eye out and we'll see what happens. But I think we'll hear some more here soon because he's definitely learning and he's definitely willing to bring that challenge like he always was. So thanks so much for watching. Interesting channel. This was the energy surrounding Dustin Diamond. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.